What's up everybody, Victor of HVAC here. We're back with another one, and in today's episode we're going to be doing a preventative maintenance on my air conditioner in my house. It's been a little over a year since I moved in. Don't mind Pika, that's my pet bird. Hi Pika. Yeah, you're hissing at the camera. But I've been here a little over a year. I haven't done a maintenance on my air conditioner since I moved in, so this should be a little juicy. Kind of show you guys the proper way of doing a preventative maintenance on a residential home. So let's do it, guys. So the first thing I want to talk about and kind of address is that, yeah, I carry a big tool bag around to do service calls and whatnot, but what I have here is a Vito Pro Pack. This one's pretty old. I don't know, it's probably 5-6 years old, but I keep my basic hand tools in here, or I'll transfer them from my bag if I show up to a maintenance call, or if I've got a bunch of maintenances that day. Simple tool setup, and I know this looks a little different than most. I got a toothbrush here. I'll show you what that's for later in the video. And a mastic brush that has some painter's tape wrapped around the metal. I wipe the cabinets out with that, and just a needle nose plier, basic needle nose plier, basic crescent wrench, a flathead screwdriver, and a Phillips head screwdriver. I do keep my cheater cord in here. That way, if I don't have power available, I can just connect up to the condensing unit, or the heat pump rather, to get my 120 for my vacuum that I'll be using outside for the drain line and such. Keep some zip ties in here. Never know, just kind of clean things up. Some electrical tape. I have this in my pocket, which is my flashlight. Pretty handy tool. My temp gun. That way, if I have a register that's close to the plenum, I'll go ahead and take a temperature split that way, coming out of the vent, not across the coil. Unless I have good access, I'll just go ahead and take one across the coil, get my temperature difference. I got a funnel with me. I've got my meter, my electrical meter. Take my amp draws, check voltage, make sure it's putting out the proper voltage to the contactor or whatnot. This stuff here is some really good stuff. If you've never used it, you ought to give it a shot. Viper pan and drain treatment. I clean the drain pan out on a maintenance. I don't just clean just the drain line. A lot of guys, I go behind them all the time. They'll just clean just the drain line. And when you do that, you miss the 90 coming out of the unit, and the pan rather. And I'll show you that in the video later. But I got some pan treatment tablets for condensate drain pans. Some gloves, my drill with a 5/16 chuck and a 1/4 inch chuck. Of course, some gauges. I'll be using my Testo gauges today. Good little shot of that. There's some really nice gauges. I really like them. A water hose to rinse the condenser off with. Most people have water hoses, readily available, but you will find a time here and there at a residential home where there's no water hose available. And of course, a shop vac. So the shop vac is one of the most important things, in my opinion, on a maintenance. To clean that drain line out, get it cleaned up good, get the leaves out the bottom of the condenser, and so forth. It's a quick little shot, kind of show you what it all looks like. I got my tool belt on. I put my flashlight here. Got my funnel, found a hole for it. Got my temp gun just hanging. Pika, be quiet. You gonna say hi? Come say hi. Say hi. Just hanging from my tool belt here, and my meter bag has a slot that fits perfectly for my tool belt, so I just put it on my tool belt. And yeah, first what I'm gonna do when I go to a maintenance, typically I want to make sure the system's working properly. This is my house, so I know that the system is working properly. It cools just fine. Hadn't had an issue with it, other than a capacitor went out on it last year. So I'm gonna get straight to cleaning, and where I like to start at when I start my cleanings is the inside unit and work my way outside. So look who decided to visit. What's up, buddy? Sit. Good boy. Good boy, Tank. Yeah. This is the closet of doom.
Okay, so I got all the hocus pocus out of the closet. I like to keep some of my Halloween decorations put up here. The rest are, go in the attic, but just thought it'd be pretty funny to show you guys that. But so what I first do is I want to show you guys, I keep a composition book on me, a little notepad and a pen. And as I go through the maintenance, I will write things down that need to be addressed, and just kind of treating this like I'm at a homeowner's house, a different somebody else's home, so you guys get a picture of what I actually do when I'm on a maintenance. And before I touch anything, I like to do a good wipe down of the air handler, the whole air handler, get all the dust mites and all that stuff off of the actual cabinet. This is not gonna change the way the machine operates, but just gives a better view or better picture to the homeowner, that you're actually there to do something. Because a lot of people show up, and I hear about it all the time. They were here for 15 minutes. I don't know if they did anything. I think he sucked the drain line out and that was about it, and they weren't happy. So definitely show up and show out if you can. Plus, it just keeps things clean when you go to touch it. You go to work on it. It's not a big old dust ball. You wipe the drain line down and everything. Float switch. And I know you guys already peeped something that's not right here. I hope so, at least. When I moved into this place, the evap coil was horrible. It was disgusting. So I did do a pull and clean on this unit. And at the time, I didn't have any Armorflex. Now, I've had Armorflex since then. Just never really got around to doing it. Never really got around to insulating it. And I probably need to do that as soon as possible. So that'll be one of the things I write down in my book, is insulating this drain line, insulating this PVC, which it wasn't insulated from the get-go, but this is going to sweat from that cold water, cold condensation. So I go ahead and write that down. Another thing that I see is this float switch here. It has no wire nuts. Now that wasn't me. I don't know why I haven't corrected that yet. I've just been busy. It's almost like, the grass guy, his grass is tall, the AC guy, his filter is dirty. That's kind of how it is. But I'll go ahead and address that as well. Write that down on my pad. Okay, so now I got it all wiped down, nice and purty. I'll go ahead and remove the duct tape that I've got on here. And the reason why I did that is I just don't want it sucking in a bunch of dust in these creases. When I moved in and I opened this closet up, this was just flat full of dust and a bunch of nasty stuff. So get this pulled off. I'm going to take my glove off so I can get to it. And then once I'm done, I go ahead and take that back up. I do have a UV light in here, as you can see here. Clean Comfort Indoor Essentials ultraviolet coil purifier, and I've got it sitting there illuminating on my coil so that growth and stuff like that doesn't happen again inside this air handler. And before I open this up, I'm going to power the system down. That way my retinas, I don't burn the retinas of my eyes, because that UV light will burn the retina of your eye. And I've had buddies go to the hospital because of it, so it's definitely nothing to play with. So let's do that. Let's take care of that for real quick. Okay, so air, heat. Okay, as you can see, when I installed that UV light, I did put a shield on the back side of this UV light. You can see where that shield is at, and that line of growth. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm pretty sure you can. And you can see how it's kept the rest of the closet growth free. I mean, look at the back side of that thing. It really cleaned this closet up. But this, you can see over here on this side where it's not been hitting on the other side of this blower motor. So I've got it illuminating my blower wheel. The blower wheel was disgusting when I moved in here. So I did do a pull and clean on the evap coil, the microchannel coil down there, and the blower motor. So what I'm doing now is I open this thing up, so I'm going to get a good visual. I got my flashlight out, just kind of looking around, and I will take this panel off next. But I just want to take a look at the wiring up top. Check everything out, make sure everything's copacetic. Looks okay. While I've got the power off, I will be going through and doing a few things, and one of them is going to be just making sure everything's tight. Get a nice little wrench down. See, that one was wow. It always surprises me when I run into something like this. That one was pretty loose. Yeah, so let's get this bottom panel off and we'll take a look at the coil, take a look at the drain pan, get it cleaned up. And I'm gonna go outside and turn my shop back on and get this drain line cleaned up. Okay, so the way I pipe this is not gonna be easy to get out of here. I always forget one screw. You can see the panel's bent. It's bent up a little bit. I think there's like one way of getting this out. There's a well, there's a way. So I've got the bottom panel off of here. As you can see, we've got our drain pan down below. It's pretty clean, and the reason being is because I did do that pull and clean, and I cleaned the pan, I cleaned the coil. I've got the UV light. The UV light bounces around. I know this is not a foil interior. It's more like a insulated, fiberglass insulated pad. It's how Nordyne makes their systems. I believe this is a Nordyne, Newtone, same thing. Got the microchannel coil. But yeah, so down here my attention is going to be inside this drain pan right now, and I'm surprised on how clean it is. You can see where we got some growth over there starting to build up in the drain line where it comes out of the drain. And I know they give you this T here, an access port, but really that's the only reason that's there is so you can refill the drain back up. You shouldn't be cleaning the drain line from this port here. Open the panel up, turn your shop back on outside, come back inside, get some water, preferably in a gallon jug or something like that, and flush this puppy out, because then you're getting this 90, I mean, you're getting it all, the drain pan and all. So I'm gonna go turn my shop back on, and we'll get this rinsed out, really give it some water. See our outside unit, Frigidaire. It's a Nortec. Nortec makes this. Very similar to the Nordyne. They might be sister companies, I don't know. I don't really deal with that brand in particular. I've worked on a bunch of them, but it's a dime and a dozen. Okay, so normally what I would do, and like I said, this is the first time I've done this on my house. So normally this slides right on top of this 3/4 inch PVC, and it gets a really good suction from it. As you can see, I kind of just put it up to the drain itself, and it sucked a lot of stuff out from a siphon movement. But I need to actually get this to where it's going to go on there and stay on there. And this particular vacuum, this doesn't pull off of this fitting here, because if it did, it would get a nice fit over the top of this PVC. So I'm gonna get my PVC cutters. I'll make a cut here, or even better yet, I'll make a cut right here past the trap, so that way I'm able to access the trap if I need to, and I'll get a better suction and show you guys that. Okay, so I'm gonna cut it right past the trap. I'll leave some meat on there for that 3/4 inch coupling. This stuff seems pretty brittle, so I'm gonna rock it back and forth. Don't want to crack the drain. You guys get a good look in there. We got some goop in there, just some algae. Nothing too crazy. I've seen a lot worse. Okay, so you can hear that drain line sucking. I've got my jug of water here. It says evac coil cleaner, but this is just an empty jug that I filled up with hot water. I like to use hot water. I've got my funnel here. I don't think it might not be necessary to use the funnel in this situation, because I've got a lot of room. But sometimes you'll find where you have to use that funnel to get in that drain pan, so that you're not leaking water everywhere. So it's just as simple as pouring it down the drain. What I like to do is I like to pour it, give it a good pour in there, kind of clear out whatever's in there. It's going to loosen some of that stuff up inside of that drain pan. And now that I've done that, it's time to get my Viper cleaner, and I'm going to spray that portion of the pan down that is pretty rough. So should always get a rag or something like that to just get in there. This one is pretty open, so it wouldn't be too hard to get a rag in there and clean this out. But I'm going to demonstrate this just for video purposes. This is what I like to do, especially, you guys got homeowners sitting over your shoulders. When you're new in this industry, you're going to start out doing a lot of maintenances, kind of get you familiar with what's going on. So definitely want to do it the right way. Get that raise from the boss, get those good reviews, and yeah, you're gonna take off from there. So we got it sprayed in there. This is like I showed you guys earlier, the Viper pan and drain treatment. Now that I've sprayed the whole bottom, you can see it's almost like a gel spray. And what I do, this is why I have that toothbrush in my tool bag. You can see there, we've already got a lot of stuff coming up, but you get down in there with that toothbrush and get all the crevices, and it's going to clean up really nice. So you can hear all that goop getting sucked down. This Viper cleaner, honestly, based off my experience, you don't even have to do this. This really isn't necessary. The Viper cleaner will eat that stuff away. And what I like to do is I like to follow it up with the drain pan tabs. It's not necessary because it's pretty much doing the same thing the tablets do. But the more the merrier. Makes me happy. Makes the customer happy. So why not? Okay. So I've got that pretty good there. And set that to the side. And this is where I'm going to get my water back out. I'm going to flush all that stuff down. And then I'll flush the whole gallon of water down. Go outside, check my shop vac out. See what I've got in the shop vac. If it's pretty bad, I will come back inside and flush another gallon down, go back out and repeat the process until it comes clean. And you see, this is where this funnel is going to come in handy. It rinsed out everything besides this corner over here, and definitely want to get all that stuff rinsed out of there. So just pour it down there with my funnel. It kicked it all back. And flush it out. Like I said, guys, you do the whole gallon. I'm going to do it nice and slow so it's not going over the top of this drain pan. Okay, so we flushed the whole gallon down. Now it's time to go outside and check the shop vac. Now you can see what that Viper cleaner does. It really does suds up. It is some really good stuff. So it's gonna be hard to see with all the suds, but it can be poured out onto the ground. And especially if you find some grass or something like that to pour it onto, the grass will catch a lot of the chunks, and you'll be able to see exactly what came out of there. Now I do see some goop, a little bit of goop. The drain pan wasn't too bad. The drain line didn't look too bad in my opinion, so I'm gonna leave it be. Looks pretty good. Disconnect my shop vac here, and I will have to go and get a fitting for this. Pop it on there, put all this back together. Okay, so we'll put our coupling on there. This is not pressurized, so there's no need to glue it. I don't like gluing them because it makes it hard for me to take them apart and clean them. And I definitely like to do that every so often. Okay, so I've got the trap hooked back together outside. And use this service port here to refill that trap up. Stick my funnel down in there. It doesn't take much water to fill that trap up. That ought to do the trick. Put our cap back on. Now what I'll do here is I'll get me another wipe out. Wipe this coil face down. Get it cleaned up and disinfected. Nothing too crazy, guys. Just a little wipe down. These micro channel coils, I'm not a big fan of them. It is what it is. The unit's not that old, so I won't be replacing it. Give this all a good wipe down. The drain pan likes to collect some stuff. The UV light can't get to this section here. If you can, get in there and get the edge of this drain pan as far back as you can. Get that all wiped out, and of course disinfected. Get this filter rack door wiped down. And all this is just cosmetics, but I think it makes a difference in the customer's eyes. You know, they want to feel like they're getting what they paid for. I do charge enough to compensate myself, my work. It's quality work. So there's no need to run through it. rush through and skip something or give them half of what they're paying for. Looks like that's not coming off there. Looks like maybe somebody had burnt it up, maybe on the insulation or something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna wipe all this down the best that I can. If this has the silver lining, you can see it picked up quite a bit of stuff. If this had the silver lining in here, I would take a wipe and wipe the whole inside down on the silver lining. But like I said, this is not. This has that fiberglass insulation. But I will go ahead and wipe the blower wheel, the blower housing down the best you can. You know, you don't want to hurt yourself or hurt the machine by any means. But getting back up in there as best you can and getting all that stuff wiped down, it's going to go a long ways. You go to one of my units that I've been maintaining for years. I've got 2002 systems out there that still look brand new. So, and if they look brand new, people respect it more. Wipe the wires down. See, they seem to collect a little bit of growth right there. So it's definitely important to wipe those down before they get out of hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and spray this drain pan one more time with this Viper cleaner pan treatment. Now normally I would spray this section back in here, but this micro channel coils, it's aluminum. They are pretty prone to springing leaks from chemicals. And so I'm not going to be doing that. I don't want any issues on this coil. It actually looks pretty clean back up in there, so I really don't think it's necessary. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. The channel back up in here, and you can see it's on both sides there. Yeah, we've got the Viper cleaner sprayed in there, and just to top it off, I do like to put a pan tablet or two in there. And these tablets are okay. They're not the best in my opinion. They've got some tablets called gel tabs. They're pretty big size red tabs. I know you've probably seen them on my previous videos. Those stick to the pan better, and they dissolve slower over time. So you can see where I set those two at. So before I power the system up, I'm going to check that capacitor out, and I'll show you what I did. What I normally do is I take these clamps, I leave them on there. Of course it's clamped down and secure. If it's a little loose, then you can pull that capacitor right out of there, no problem. So it makes it a lot easier for you to check them, because if not, you got to pull this blower. I mean, it's not easy to get to back up in there. So check this capacitor out. Check it for microfarads. It is a 10 microfarad capacitor. You see 10 UF. So let's get our meter out, check that puppy out, and make sure it's good to go. MFD. And what do you know, guys? See, this is why it's important to check all this stuff. You can see that there. We've got 6.9. It's way below tolerance. This is a 10 UF plus or minus 5%. So I mean, you can do the math, guys. That is way out of tolerance. We'll do it again just to show you. 6.9. So 6.9 microfarads, and it's rated for 10. So we definitely need to get this one changed out. I'm gonna go get a new one, put it in while I'm at it. Or if you're on a maintenance at a homeowner's house, you go ahead and call Miss Jones over here. Say, hey, Miss Jones, looks like we've already got an issue. And this may be the only issue we have in the maintenance. I'm not sure yet. I'm just getting started, but we definitely should take care of this, because one day your blower motor is not going to start, or it could cause damage internally in that blower motor from having to start without the tolerated microfarads to push it. So, and then typically they're going to say go ahead and do it. We don't want any issues. we'll go grab a new one. We'll get it changed out. Okay, so we're back. We got our 10 microfarad capacitor. As you can see, this one is made in USA. These are very good capacitors. This capacitor here, if you could read it, down here it says made in China, and we all know how that works out. So we're gonna chunk this thing and put in a nice American-made capacitor. As you know, this is wider, or as you may not know, I don't know, this is wider than the capacitor we took out. So what I'll be doing is I'll be relocating this capacitor to the front of the system. We got it hooked up, and how I'll do that is I'll either wrap this up with some tape so it doesn't hit anything, but it's just as simple as getting a bracket, mounting it here on the front of the motor, or even just zip tying it to the wires that are there already. So I'm gonna grab some electrical tape, which I have on my handy bag here. Okay. So I'm just gonna start on the capacitor here, work my way around. These terminals. And this is just to be precautious. Typically it's not gonna touch anything, but why not take that extra step? Be careful, maybe save the next technician who might be coming behind you to do the next maintenance from getting shocked, getting lit up. So I'm just going to take this capacitor here, go ahead and take my wiring, maneuvering. But I mean, that capacitor is not going to go anywhere, and I'm going to put in a zip tie on it just to be safe. Cut my excess off of here. And we're good to go. We've got the new capacitor in there. It's nice and secure. Now we shouldn't have any issues with that blower motor starting up when it calls for air conditioning or heating. Okay, so I'm gonna get the panels back on. I get at least the bottom panel on. I'll unplug this UV light, fire the system up in the cooling position, and you can pull the disconnect outside. That way you get that full capacity of the cooling, the blower motor running. You can take a nice amp draw, get an accurate reading, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, so we've got the UV light unplugged. Peak is making some noise. I'm going to fire this back up. Ecobee is spreading its wings. Please give me a moment while I stretch my wings. So it's gonna fire up. I'm gonna go outside, pull the disconnect, and get a nice accurate blower motor reading. Easy peasy. Okay, so we got it set for 76. I love these gloves. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it down to 74. Yeah, so these Klein gloves, they you can work on your phone, tablet, whatever the case may be. Okay, so we got the blower motor fired up. I'll go ahead and get my my amp meter hooked up, set it up to the clamp position, and you can go ahead and take it straight off the motor here if you'd like to, 1.9, or if you don't feel comfortable getting in there, if you don't even know exactly what wire it is, I remember those days, I've been there, guys. You can go right up to your power wire coming in and take an amp draw from there, and it's going to be exactly the same. So it looks like we got 2 amps, and you can check the rating on the blower itself and make sure that's within range. 0.9. So we do got a 0.1 difference coming from the incoming power source, and I'm assuming that has to do with the powering up this transformer, but no biggie. 0.1 shouldn't really make a big deal. So on our sticker here, FLA for the blower motor is going to be rated for 2.1. It's a 3rd horsepower motor. So 2.1, we're at 2.0 at the incoming power, 1.8 at the motor itself. So we are within range, and we should be good to go with that blower motor. It sounds pretty good. You can get in there and inspect it. I'm going to go ahead and shut the power back off to the system. Then I can connect my molded plug back to the UV light. Got it plugged in. Looking good, looking good. And yeah, so now we can put our panels back on. We've checked everything out inside this air handler. These air handlers, all we have is an evaporator coil and a blower motor. Of course, our capacitor, if it's a PSC motor. We got a board up top. There's not much to do on that board. If there was connections, even like the molded plugs, I did check those, make sure they were okay. Check the connections at the high voltage incoming power. The right lug was a little loose. I'm glad that's why we check them. Tighten it back down, so we are good to go on the inside unit. Got the pan treated and cleaned. You can sanitize the coil, but that's why I have this UV light. It's a ultraviolet coil purifier. It keeps it clean for me. So I wanted to show you guys the reason why I have tape on here. You can see the gap. There's a gap here, there's a gap there. I mean, there's gaps all over the place, even like in this corner here on both sides. So that's why I put the tape on there. This keeps my air cleaner in my house, because this is the suction side of the system. It's going to suck from anywhere it can. You can look down here in the corner and see a little bit of dust where it's sucking from the rack there. High filter right here at the direct return. So with that being said, all that's going to be going right into my air system, my airstream, and out of my ductwork, which I do not want. So okay, so I've got it all taped up and we are ready to head outside. I do want to notate one more thing, is I'm going to get some goop tape, monkey tape, tar tape, whatever you guys want to call it. Get that around my suction line here when I do insulate it. That way it's not sucking in dust from here. The more you can stop that from happening, the cleaner your ductwork's going to stay, the cleaner your air is going to be, and ultimately that's a win-win. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, so I powered the unit back up, and you can see what I was talking about there, the gaps going into that air handler. You can see the light, the UV light. So this is a good example of what air leakage could be coming inside of the air handler. I've solved issues where people say I get a lot of dust, on my counters, what's going on. You can always clean the ductwork, but starting at the source, the air conditioner doesn't just create dust. That's kind of what they think, but ultimately it's caused from something like this. So a little bit of tar tape will take care of that. And you can see the UV light is illuminating, so I do know the UV light is good. It's not even a year old, so the bulb should be okay. And I will definitely check that out next maintenance and check the filament on it, see if it's black or see if it's burnt, change the bulb out if needed, but for now it's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the thermostat. We are in cooling, set to 74. It's 77 in the house. I'll drop that down even further just for testing so it doesn't shut off on me. And I'm going to go outside and hook up the gauges, check the outside unit out, make sure it's working properly, everything's working the way it should, and then I'll just start on the cleaning outside. Okay, so most importantly, before you approach the outside unit, you do want to be cautious. Snakes, I seen a video of a guy on the AC page on Facebook the other day where there was a rattler snake right next to where he was at. That could have ended his day pretty badly. But what I did notice is when I approach this unit here, I look around the corner and you can see we've got a nest of hornets. Those things will light you up, and you know they won't kill you. It's gonna hurt and you're gonna be cussing, but why deal with all that if you can prevent it? I'm gonna go inside, get some wasp spray. If I don't have wasp spray, I will get some spray glue and glue these suckers down. But definitely want to get rid of those and do a good visual on the outside unit before you really touch anything. Look down inside there, get a good look, make sure there's nothing crazy going on. You could have a big old nest of wasps. You fire this thing up and boom. Okay, so I didn't have any wasp spray, but I do got some spray adhesive. So you get this in one shot here. Spray them down. They can't move. You can see they are all stuck. It's not ideal. Get some wasp spray. I should have some wasp spray. Shame on me, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so the system isn't cooling. I've got the disconnect turned off. I'm gonna go ahead and get set up, get my gauges hooked up, get this panel off outside, and then I'll go ahead and apply power so I can do my testing. So I want to show you a pretty cool feature on these gauges. When you hook them up, of course this unit's not running. So when I hooked up the high side first, it gave me the option to change the pressure side. So basically if I hit yes, it will swap the high side and low side, which is pretty neat because I hook them up backwards all the time just because I'm either in a rush or I can't see on a rooftop, it's really bright, or it's just too hot to really care about it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Good job, Testo. And as far as the wireless clamps go, I mean, you just hit the button, good to go. This you can see on the screen, it's going to be for our suction side, so I'm going to connect it to my suction copper line, and simple as hitting that button again, it's going to pop up on my screen for my high side, my liquid line. Clamp that down, and yeah, they make it pretty easy for you to hook these things up. I'm really impressed with these gauges. I've been using the 550s for a long time, and now I'm getting acquainted to these 557S Testo gauges, and they are pretty nice. Okay, so I got it all opened up, got the outside panel taken off, the gauges are hooked up, got the wireless probes hooked up. We're reading 230 psi on sitting pressure. Got our probes hooked up. You can see our outside unit. We've got quite the collection of dead lizards, dead bugs, all that good stuff, and that's where this comes in handy. And spin it around, get the big stuff out. Oof. We just brush this thing out. So I mean, even where the panel connects to, all that good stuff, your wires, your low voltage wires. Our wiring inside the cabinet here. See all the dust bunnies flying everywhere. Looks like we got a lizard that was behind the board. Okay, so that's much better, much more presentable. Feel a lot better about that. Looks a lot cleaner. Push our wires back where they're supposed to be, and we're gonna fire this thing up. So I'm gonna apply power to it. Of course, let it run for a little bit, and I'll be taking my amp draws on the compressor and on the fan motor, and then we'll check the charge. Pretty quiet unit, not too shabby. Let me get my meter out. Take some amp draws on the compressor and the fan. So let's see here. wire here. It's going to be for our fan motor, for our condenser fan motor. And you gotta love that magnet on this meter here. This is made by Fieldpiece. Definitely my favorite meter. HS33. 0.7, 0.9. So you can see 0.9 is within range. If you get the wire in the middle with that probe there, it's going to get you a more accurate reading. And I'm reading 0.9. So 0.9 on our condenser fan motor. You can either write that down, take a picture of it, do whatever you got to do. But I've got the panel right here. On the panel, we've got RLA for our compressor, RLA for our fan, and the fan is 1 amp. The compressor is 14.1. So we're going to check that now on the compressor. And I'm going to come right off the top of this contactor here. We got 8.6, and it's not fluctuating. It's not doing anything crazy. It's holding 8.6. Okay, so we let it run for a little bit, and the gauges are showing me, pressure's a little higher. Nothing too crazy. It's a microchannel coil, so it's kind of expected to be a little bit higher. The head pressure's a little higher. I am going to clean this condenser coil, which will help out with that. But we have a piston inside, so I'm paying attention to the superheat. As far as the charge goes, we got a 24-degree subcool and 24-degree superheat. It's this particular unit, you scan it to charge it, and it does give you a table on the back as far as what your target superheat and subcool should be. I'm not too concerned about that right now, but I just wanted to show you the operation of these gauges because they are definitely one of my favorites. So now we have this thing running. I'm going to go inside and get a temperature split across the evap coil, see what we got. We got coming in, going out, and get our difference. I'm going to stick this right up here in this plenum. The higher the better. And I'll leave that there, let it hang out for a little bit, and come back and check on it. And typically while I'm waiting for that to do its thing, I'll do an inspection on the return here. Check the filter out, make sure it's clean. This filter here, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I mean, it's a little dirty. Definitely is dirty, but I think it's got another month or so on it. Get inside my return here, do an inspection, make sure everything looks okay. Looks pretty good. Looks still dry. Insulation looks okay. You can get up in here, get a good look at that evap coil. Make sure it's clean. Looks pretty good. So we're pretty good. Everything's insulated, drain line, copper, all that stuff. So I'll go ahead and put the filter back in. Look at my thermostat. See what the temperature is inside the home, and compare it to what's coming out. And that'll give us our temperature difference. Okay, so I doubt you can see that, but it says 56 degrees, 56.1. And coming over our thermostat, we've got 76 on the display. So we've got a perfect 20-degree split. If you wanted to be more accurate, you could go ahead and put your temp probe on the return for your temp gun, take a reading, coming in, going out. Okay, so I'm back outside. I gave it some run time, let it run for a little bit. we're about 17, 18 degrees superheat, 23, 24 degrees subcool, 375 on our head, 133 on our suction. I'm pretty happy with that. We got some sweating going on the suction line here. And yeah, so we've tested this thing out. Now we're going to go ahead and test the capacitor out. Got to shut power for that so we don't get lit up. I'm going to pull the terminals off of this capacitor, go from common to Herm, common to fan, and make sure that the microfarads are accurate. This is a 45 by 5 capacitor. I know it's kind of hard to see, but we should be within range. If not, I will replace that as well. There's no need to pull the common side off, but you do want to get the Herm side off and the fan side off of this thing. You can't test it with it connected. It will not give you a reading, or an accurate reading rather. So you do need to pull those terminals off. Switch it over to MFD. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in a spot where we can all see it together. And I'm just going to go from my common to my Herm. We are reading 44.1, 44.2. So 44.2, this is a plus or minus 10%, so that's within range. I go from my fan to common. And it looks like we have 4.9. It's rated for 5. That's well within range. So our capacitor is good. No need to change it. We're going to keep it moving. And the next step on this is putting it back together, getting the wiring where it's supposed to be, putting the panel back on. And I'll actually pop the top on this thing and get the water hose out and rinse the condenser coil off pretty good, get it cleaned up. If there's any leaves in the bottom of the condenser, which I'm assuming there is because you can see some down there, I'll get it sucked out with my shop vac, and that ought to do the trick. So if you look down in there, you can see a bunch of leaves at the bottom of this this condenser here. So pulling the top on this is going to be necessary. Just stick it to the side there. There's no need to take the whole thing off. You're just causing more work for yourself. If you're more comfortable like that, go ahead and so be it. But this is how I do it. I've got quite a bit of leaves down there, so I'm going to get my shop vac out. I got everything out the bottom of it. Looks pretty good. It's time to rinse this coil down and see what comes out of it. I'm pretty curious to see what comes out of it. Okay, so we really not that dirty, but still gonna clean the rest of it, rinse it out pretty good from the inside out. That way I know it's good. Okay, so we got it all put back together. Got the coils rinsed off. Checked the operations of the outside unit, the refrigerant charge, the electrical connections, capacitor, contact points. Wiped the inside cabinet down with my mastic brush. Put the caps back on. So right now I'm just going to be doing a rinse down of the outside unit. Biggest thing is getting underneath this pad. You want to get all that crap from underneath there. You've got plugs, drain plugs. They're not plugs, they're drain holes on the bottom of that pan. And if you have a bunch of junk up in there, leaves, dirt that collects from over time, it's going to clog those drain holes up. And that's when you start having bad acidity issues with the leaves eating up your compressor, stuff like that. And you don't want that. So go ahead and take care of underneath this pad. I gotta find out where the toads are living. Oh, look at that big guy. They're everywhere. Look at them. Right there. Not a big fan of those toads. My dog gets to them, licks them, starts foaming out the mouth. Okay, now we've got 24 volts standing by, so when I turn this disconnect on, this puppy ought to fire up.
Okay everybody, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you learned something today. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you enjoyed the content, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss the next video that I put out, and we will catch you guys soon. Peace.